Hey everybody, Ryan Carson here. I had a really interesting conversation just with a client now. Came in and he's doing a real estate sale of his primary residence and a purchase in the month of April. We did those, closing documents, had those conversations. But then we had a great conversation about what Google told him. So, as a lot of you know, there's a lot of resources out there and a lot of information, and it's growing exponentially almost on a weekly, daily basis now, especially with AI and ChatGPT. What's really interesting, but also potentially very dangerous with Google and ChatGPT and other forms of AI and so forth is it's making information even more readily available and even more structurally available to people. You just enter your question and then out pops a whole bunch of information on a whole bunch of different things. It's really important to utilize that as a tool, as a way of getting you started to deal with what's happening in your life, what your question is. And the question this client had was, Google told me I should put my estate, my assets and so forth in a trust to avoid taxes. So at a high level, that's not wrong. That's not incorrect. The problem is in this particular situation, Google cannot take into account all the specific nuances and personal intricacies of this client and his factual situation. Yes, a family trust, a living family trust, could indeed accomplish lower taxes or substantially tax-free, asset transition for family members. But the problem is it the right fit? Is it applicable to the situation? And in this particular situation, this individual has some investments. His children are named as the beneficiaries on his investments, like RRSPs, TFSAs. He has some life insurance. Again, his children are named as the beneficiaries on his insurance. He has a principal residence with no other real estate, and he's the sole owner of that property. And he has a bank account, which he's the sole operator of. So that probably matches up with quite a few of you listening to this video. And so the point would be, is a trust a good idea for him to utilize? Again, I'm not giving any tax advice here. I would strongly encourage you to get this conversation vetted with your own personal tax advisor. But it's probably not the right fit for a trust, because if we look at the specifics of this scenario, he wants to have his assets and his estate passed to his children when he passes away. Well, he's already going to accomplish that by having his two daughters named as the beneficiary on his life insurance and his investments. So that's going to bypass any sort of probate or estate administration tax. There's going to be some income taxes, but tax to him personally on his RRSPs. His TFSA is after-tax dollars, so there's not going to be any tax on that. All of those things have named beneficiaries to his daughter. Life insurance. Life insurance is a tax-free item, so neither his estate or the daughters as beneficiaries named in the insurance are going to receive any sort of tax requirement or tax penalty to pay. And so that just leaves essentially the house, because the bank account is a checking account. It's a modest value of under $50,000, so there's not going to be very much, if any, applicable estate administration tax there because of that value. So it leaves the house. And yes, everybody's house is, in a lot of cases, the primary asset of value and equity. And so this could be where does a trust help? The item to consider here is the house is solely owned by him, and it's his principal residence. The sale of a principal residence, if it's single family residential use, doesn't have any tax consequences under the capital gains laws and the other income tax laws. If we have it so that we move this into a corporation which is owned by the trust, on this idea of what Google said is supposed to be helpful and beneficial, we might have actually created additional setup expenses. We might have created annual maintenance expenses for him, and we might have actually taken something that was a tax-free sale, because it's your sale of principal residence, and actually created a tax when there really isn't tax. So I'm not saying this to dissuade people from doing planning. I think it's very important, and probably more important than ever in any previous point in time, to do planning. Have these conversations with your lawyer, with your investment advisors, with your accountants, all of the above. Because information is power, but information misused could be catastrophic. So again, Google, great tool. ChatGPT, great tool. AI, great tool. I use them myself. Let's just make sure we use it with a grain of salt and we take it for what it is, which is something that can help get us data quickly. It can empower us to become educated, but in no way is it advice. You need to get the advice from the professionals you trust. So hopefully this conversation illustrates some of those points. We're here to help you. We're here to be your advisor, here to help you empower yourself further and live a better life. All the best. Take care. Bye.